Hey guys, welcome to Cold Blooded Conversations with myself, Dylan.
Alex, and Troy behind the camera.
What's up, guys?
And what are we going to be discussing tonight, Alex?
Um, so today we're going to be talking about reptiles we like and what got us into reptiles.
Yeah,
Look at that crazy thing about to bite you.
Chuckwalla.
Um, so proper reptile enclosures, key elements.
Well, I think first we should start off with maybe what got you into reptiles, Alex?
So my first reptile was a leopard gecko, and I did not know about reptiles really when I was younger. I moved from Michigan out here, and some people introduced me to some reptiles and stuff, and catching them out in the desert and stuff like that. So I thought it was really neat, and I ended up really liking them. Like I said, my first one was a leopard gecko. So
Far we got one viewer, guys.
um,
Hicko.
how you doing today?
Thank you for joining the live, buddy.
We're going to be talking about reptiles if you did not get that already. So what's some good things that you put in an enclosure or key elements?
Some depends on what animal's going in that enclosure.
Like these guys right here.
All right, yeah, cool. For a Chuckwalla, I'd probably go depending on the size. I'd say we're just gonna go for these adults. I'd say, depending on where you're looking in the hobby, the suggestions could be a little different, anywhere from a 40-gallon breeder to up to a 150-gallon tank or bigger.
And that could, in feet wise, that would be, either 2 to 3 feet wide or 6 feet long.
Yeah.
Right around there.
Around 4x2 is what people would usually talk about for something like this.
They're great pets,
They like it real hot though, real hot.
Yes, very hot. They like to dig. They like to get in cracks and stuff like that. So you'd want to set it up with like rocks, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
They love to wedge in between everything.
And if you look at this dude, he's all puffed up. That's what they'll do when they get in the cracks.
6 viewers.
They'll get in the cracks of rocks and stuff like that, and puff themselves up so you can't get them. But this is a granite Chuckwalla.
Yes, sir.
And he's very feisty.
Oh, there goes one of them.
There goes one of them.
My story is a little similar to Alex's as well. I'm from back east, New Hampshire, born in Portland, Maine, and there's no lizards there. There's some snakes, lots of salamanders, mostly garter snakes. But when I came to Arizona when I was like 7 or 8, all the reptiles blew my mind. Might as well have been in Africa for all I knew, Australia or something. And that's what I was just set
Guys,
off
we
from
have
there.
18 viewers. Thank you for everyone that's joined the live. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for supporting us.
Thank you, guys.
So too small of a tank, you could get, you want to avoid a small tank definitely.
Oh yeah, you run into various issues like metabolic bone disease. Luckily, we don't have anything right here to show an example of that, so that's good.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, like we said, these guys like a warm spot. So I keep mine at about 110 to 100 degrees, and obviously you want a cool side to the enclosure so that they don't.
Yeah, anywhere around like room temperature to up in the low 80s is all right on the cool side.
Yeah,
they're pretty simple lizards though.
They're veggie eaters.
So, you guys, we had a comment from a listener tonight. Andrew wants to know, do lizards masturbate?
No,
they don't do that.
They don't do that.
Crazy question you got there. But if you got any other questions, feel free to ask. We can answer them to the best of all our knowledge,
Hilarious.
That's funny.
Yeah. Anyway, what's some of the reasons that all reptiles need the heat? Why is that important, Alex?
For one, they're going to need it to digest their food and function properly so they can get their proteins, or in this case, these are omnivores, so they or herbivores, my bad, not omnivores. But yep, they will use. They need the heat to digest their vegetables and stuff like that, or whatever they end up eating.
Now, is there any? Let's look at this. Good dry or chopped foods for. This is a great example for vegetarian eating reptiles. That goes for like tortoises, iguanas, maybe even blue-tongued skinks and whatnot like that. In my experience, there's some pellets that work. You might get a lot of backlash for talking about pellets, or if you post a picture with pellets or whatever, but some of them are actually pretty nutritious if you throw them in with other things that they eat. You know what I mean?
Like flowers, vegetables, leafy greens.
Dried mango, though, they seem to really like.
Yeah, these guys have been eating a lot of flowers off of my cactuses. So I got barrel cactuses out front and cactus pads, and they get these bright pink and yellow flowers on them, and they like to munch them down. That's one of their main things that they like for, I'd say, a snack once a week. So, so
now I guess I could talk about my first pet reptile. Obviously, we ran around in the sand and whatever, caught the side blotch lizards, whiptails, and stuff. And my first real pet reptile was a bearded dragon for sure.
So we did just get a comment, someone asking, are there any fighting leagues for lizards? Like, can I train my lizard to kick other lizards' booties and win some money? Now, I've never heard of anything like that.
You guys aren't childish, by the way.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything like that. And if there is, that'd be kind of crazy, and I would avoid that.
Yeah, definitely.
We're looking out for their best interest. So
100%.
we don't want them hurting each other and stuff like that.
We don't do cockfights.
Yeah, none of that stuff. But so vitamins and stuff like that is good for lizards. You can get vitamin D3, calcium and stuff like that. That will help with their bone density and make sure that they don't get MBD or stuff like that, which is bone disease.
Definitely.
And that's a big thing in the hobby because people don't keep the right lights and stuff on them and feed them properly. So
it's very common with the bearded dragons, because they're often boasted as like a beginner reptile. We all know that. Like I just said, it was my first one. Luckily, the first one I had was already full grown, but if you look up MBD on Google, you're probably going to see 1,000 bearded dragons. You know what I mean?
Yep. I still have my first reptile I got in 2013. It was my leopard geckos.
Is there any way we could see that?
I was going to say, he just asked how long do lizards live for. Now, this species right here can live quite a long time, upwards to 65 years if taken care of properly, but mostly around 25 years. So let me get my first lizard that I ever got.
Oh, crazy little lizards over here.
Did it fall?
Yeah, it did.
Go ahead and fix that. They'll be okay.
All right. Yeah, anyway, my first lizards was a bearded dragon, and it's actually kind of crazy how I got him. I got him when I was maybe 10 or 11, but I knew this bearded dragon when I was probably like 7. One of my dad's friends kept him in like not trying to sound bad or nothing, because he did great, but he didn't even have a cage. He lived in a windowsill like this, but it was open all the time.
So Andrew wants to know how long do most typical lizards live, and also how long does a bearded dragon live?
Well, typical, that's about the same answer. Typically, every lizard will live about 10 to 15 years, which is about average for a bearded dragon as well.
And then this is the leopard gecko that I got when I was around 2013. Like I said, this was my first reptile that really got me into collecting and keeping, and I have now since moved on, and I have 3 of these guys, but I also have quite a few other lizards too, some collared lizards. I got the granite chucks.
Definitely more we'll be able to show on the live.
Yeah, definitely. So let me go ahead and put this guy away so you can get back to chilling.
Yeah, that's probably the oldest animal in here right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Besides that, Alex had a green iguana he kept for a long time. That one actually just recently passed.
Yep, almost. I I think 17 years old, a little under that. Unfortunately, he passed away. So, but bearded dragons, did you said 10 to 15
Yeah, about
years?
10 to 15 years. Some of them, you
20
could see
years.
them living a little longer, but
Yeah, I had one that lived for almost 16 and a half years. So, and I had him for a while until he passed away.
but I mean, well, that can actually. There are lots of typical lizards like chameleons that live very short lifespans.
Yes.
Especially some of the smaller ones.
About like 6 years, huh? Maybe.
Yeah, some of them will even
well-
only last until they get to breeding season if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, because they get egg bound, and that's a big thing people don't
Mhm.
prepare for is a reptile getting egg bound, and it's not good for them. Obviously, you should always have a lay box if you're going to have a female, just in case. That's just my opinion on it, though. Right now we're trying to breed this boy and this female. This is the boy and this is the female.
We believe her to be gravid right now,
Yep.
actually.
Well, maybe, not sure yet.
Talk to the viewers about your guys' recent expo visits. How were those for you guys? What was the
Well,
experience?
I actually can't wait to get to this one that's happening this year in probably September, I think. I haven't been to one in like 2.5, maybe even 3 years. Actually, yeah, about 3 years by now. But they're very fun, especially with this guy running around grabbing all the animals. Try not to buy everything.
I know, huh? But obviously, don't buy something if you can't take care of it. That's not the best interest for the animal. You need to
Definitely.
know what you're doing. A lot of people buy these on the spur of the moment. Oh, this is cheap. Let me buy this, and then don't know what they're doing or not taking care of it properly.
I myself have definitely been a victim of spur purchases of reptiles here and there. At my first expo, first or second for sure, I had a lot of money and put it down here and there, and then realized shortly after that wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah. I keep a lot of Ackie monitors. I have 3 of them. I got a full-grown male and stuff like that. They, I got my male. He's in a 150-gallon enclosure. His substrate's about, I'd say about 6 to 7 inches deep. They like to burrow, so you want to make sure you want to have for certain species that burrow and stuff like that in the dirt. I want a deeper substrate. A lot of people get substrate and they only put an inch in there, and it's not good for them.
Right.
You don't want their feet touching the glass and stuff like that. Now that won't be an issue, but that's just something most reptiles and stuff are going to need, that thicker substrate so they can dig.
Now, can we talk about a little bit with like water dishes and food dishes? I guess the hazard mostly always comes from a water dish, though. What's good water dishes and food dishes in your opinion?
So, I like the realistic ones. Obviously,
Well, also that would probably vary a little bit between species. You know what I mean?
yeah. Where you going, baby?
Some things love the water, some things not so much.
Yeah. So, for my leopard geckos, I have a shallow dish that's about maybe an inch deep, just big enough for them to walk through and not submerge their whole body.
Right.
Because it's for their safety at the end of the day. You don't want something to get in there and drown.
Oh, definitely.
Yep. So like I said, smaller reptile dishes for them, and then I keep a little ceramic food dish in there for their enclosures so that that their mealworms can go in and not crawl around the enclosure and stuff.
Right.
It'd be annoying.
In my opinion, I mostly just use the food dishes, so I don't get substrate on any of the food, especially because most of the lizards I'm feeding are vegetarians. I got some baby chuckwallas, and my son has a bearded dragon. But his bugs obviously go in the dish as well.
Oh, what happened over here?
That's when it all fell over. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Crazy chuckwallas.
Yep, they're crazy. They're a little rambunctious. They're a little wound up. Just pull them off the heat light.
And the chuckwallas themselves are a whole topic we could go very, very deep into. There's